So today we are going to start division. Okay, so we use division when we are dividing something into equal groups. Say we have 12 chocolates and we want to divide them into 4 people. So how many chocolates will every person get? Right? So it will be equal to, say we have 12 chocolates. So 12 chocolates and we have 3 people, say. Okay, and we want to divide this 12 chocolate in such a way that the 3 people will get equal amount of chocolate or equal number of chocolate. So how many chocolate will each of the person have? So when we want to find such things, we use division, right? So when we were discussing about multiplication, we saw that multiplication was repeated addition, right? Whereas division is splitting something into equal parts. So that equal part may be determined by us. Say if we have 10 students, we want to divide them into 5 groups. So that we need to divide them into 5 equal halves. If I have 12 chocolates, I want to divide it into 3 people, right? So I want to divide this 12 into 3 equal halves, right? Such that everyone gets the same number of chocolates. Okay. So just like we saw in multiplication, what the terms are called. So we'll see in division what we call those terms. So I mean, how do we denote division first of all? Say, if I go back to this question, 12 chocolates among 3 people, right? So this will be represented as 12. This is the symbol of division. So I'll denote this as 12 divided by 3. Right now, what are the terms known as? So the number that we want to divide into multiple groups, it is known as the dividend, right? And the number by which we divide the dividend. So 12 was the dividend, and the number by which we divide this dividend is called divisor. Okay, and the result that we get, for example, if I want to divide 12 chocolates into 3 people, every person will get 4 chocolate, right? So that is known as the quotient, right? So dividend is usually larger, most of the time it should be larger, and when it is smaller, so you'll see then we have fractions. So that is something we'll discuss in later classes. So for now we can assume that dividend should always be larger than the divisor, right? Divisor is smaller than the dividend, or the number that we divide the dividend by. Quotient is the result of the division. Okay, and how do we do this division process? So we write this divisor here, the dividend is placed here, and the quotient, I mean we can even write the quotient here or here, does not matter, right? The only thing that matters is the answer should be correct, right? The placement can be either here or here. Now sometimes it may be possible that it is not equal to it is not possible to divide something into equal halves, right? For example, if I have 5 chocolates and I have 2 people, it is not possible to divide those 5 chocolates into 2 equal halves. So what we'll do in such case, we have a remainder left. So for example, the first person will get 2 chocolate, the other person will get 2 chocolate, the remaining 1 chocolate will be left over. So the leftover is known as the remainder. So we have now one additional term. So for addition, subtraction, multiplication, we used to have 3 terms. Now for division, we have 4 terms. One is the dividend, the other is the divisor, then we have the quotient and remainder. So if we divide 2 numbers, we get 2 numbers as the output, right? So one is the quotient, the other is the remainder. Quotient is the result of that, remainder is the leftover. Now let us see how we divide a number. Say we are given 42, right? Say for example we have 42 students in a class and want to divide them into group of 3 students. So how many students will be there in a group, given that we want to divide them equally? So first of all we'll do 42 divided by 3. So this is how we set out the problem. Now as we have seen how to represent that division, so first of all we'll identify what the dividend is. So 42 is the dividend, so dividend will place here. Then we'll see what the divisor is. Divisor is 3, so we'll place the divisor here. And then we start the division process. The first step is to divide. So how do we divide? Start from the very left. Again, this is in contradiction to what we did in multiplication. So multiplication, addition, subtraction will start it from the very right. Division, we start from the very left. So we start from here. Okay. So take one number at a time. So you can either take one number or two number depending on if this number is greater or not. So there are a lot of examples or a lot of scenarios that can happen. We'll see each of them one by one. Okay, the first case is pretty simple. So you should always ensure that whatever number you are taking here, it should always be greater than this number. So here we already have 4 which is greater than 3. So we can start the division process by taking just the single number. Okay, so we'll divide 4 with 3 first. Okay, so this is the first step to identify the number by which we should divide. Then what we do is we multiply this 3 with various numbers. So we can multiply this with 3 with 1. So 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 3 times 3 and so on. Right, where do we need to stop? So 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6 and 3 times 3 is 9. So now for each of the cases we check whether we are getting a number smaller than this. We should not get a number that is larger than this. So for example, I get 3 to the 6. So we'll stop at the position where we get the larger number. So 3 to the 6 which is larger than 4. So we'll go one step back. So 3 ones are 3. So we'll write 3 ones are 3. Okay. Then what we'll do, the next step is subtract. So we'll subtract these two numbers. So in multiplication we used to add, so in division we'll subtract. So we place a minus sign here and then subtract. So 4 minus 3 gives us 1. Now the fourth step is to bring down. So we got the remainder 1 and now we notice that this 1 is smaller than 3. So we cannot continue with the division any further. So we'll drop this 2. So this 2 goes down and then now this number becomes 12. Right, again we'll repeat this process over and over again. Now we have to divide 12 with 3. Right, and then we'll keep on multiplying. So 3 ones are 3, 3 twos are 6, 3 threes are 9 and 3 fours are 12. Right, so we'll see that at exactly 3 fours are 12 we get 0 as the remainder. So we'll stop the division process. Right, when do we stop the division process? When the remainder that we are getting is smaller than the divisor and we don't have any further number to bring down. Okay, let us see another example. So 42 divided by 3 is 40. So if you have to divide it into equal parts, if you have to divide 42 students into 3 equal parts, each group will have 14 students. Now we'll see a case wherein we have a remainder. Right, again the same process. The first step is to divide. Right, so we'll divide 9 with 4. So we'll write 4 ones are 4. Then the next step is to multiply 4 with 1, 2, 3, 4 just to check. So we have 4 times 1. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. So we see that 12 is greater than 9. So we'll go one step back. So 4 2s are 8. So 4 2s are 8 we'll write here and 1 is the remainder. Now this 5 will come down. So we did subtract and 5 comes down. So we get 15. Right. Next what we'll do, we'll again divide 15 by 4. So again do the multiplication. So 12 is smaller than 15. So we'll go one step further. So we'll have 4 4s are 16. Right. So we'll stop at 16 because 16 is larger than 15. So we'll not take this, we'll take this because this is smaller. So we should always take a number that is smaller than the largest number. So we saw that 4 4s are 16 which was larger than 15. So we go one step back and do 4 3s are 12. Right. So we get, then we subtract, so we get 3 as the remainder. So here what do we say? The dividend is 95, the divisor is 4, quotient is 23 and the remainder is 3. Okay. Then we have one more case. So again we are given a number 4 divided by 8 to 4. Okay, so during the division process, we may encounter different types of cases. So I've just tried to cover most of the cases that we'll be coming across. So again, starting with the first step is to divide. So we'll divide 8 by 4. Then we'll multiply 4. Right, so 4 ones are 4, 4 twos are 8. So add 4 twos are 8, we get exactly 8. Right, so next step would be to subtract. So when we subtract this, we'll get 0. Right. Next, this 2 comes down. Why? Because 0 is smaller than 4, so we won't be able to divide further. So this 2 comes down. Now we have 2, right? Still, so previously for most of the cases or all the cases, we have seen that when we brought down this number, right? So then this number became larger than the divisor. But here the case is different. If I bring this 2 down, this is still smaller than the divisor. Right? So there are two ways to handle this. The first way is we can also multiply 4 with 0. Right? So 4 zeros are 0, which is smaller than 2. So we'll do 4 zeros are 0, which is smaller than 2, and then 2 will be the remainder. Now this 4 can come down. Okay, so we should be bringing only one digit at a time. If there are still, after bringing one of the digits, if it is still smaller, then we'll use 0. Okay, then we'll have 4 6 ja 24. Again doing the same process, 4 6 ja 24, and then we get 0 as the remainder. So the divisor is 4, dividend is 824, quotient is 206, and remainder is 0. What was the other way that I was talking about? Other way is we don't have to multiply this with 0. We just have to use this 0, and after using this 0, we can just drop this. Okay, because 0 multiplying with 0 and then subtracting has actually 0 impact. So we are just increasing the length of our calculation. So we just bring down this 4. So when we are adding two digits at the same time or bringing down two digits at the same time, what we do, we add a 0, right? And then we'll write 4 6 are 24. So 24 minus 24 is 0. So this is much more shorter. Another type of question. So again, for most of the previous questions, we have seen that the first digit itself is larger than the divisor. So we had to take only one digit. So here you can see 8 was larger than 4. So we had taken only the first digit. Here you can see 9 was larger than 4. So we took only first digit. Here 4 was larger than 3. So we took the first digit only. But here you can see this 2 is smaller than 4. So instead of having one digit, we'll use two digits. Now there is no point in adding 0 because if I have 0, 5 or 5, both mean the same thing. 0 before any number does not make any sense, right? So we can simply use two numbers or three numbers. Given that it is the first digit that we are multiplying, we can consider two numbers, three numbers, even 4 or 5 numbers, given that this should be smaller. So if this even 22 was smaller, we would have taken 224. Okay, so first of all check 2. So 2 is smaller, so we'll take 22. Now 22 became larger, so we'll divide 22 with 4. Okay, so first step division, second step multiplication. So try multiplying 4 with 1, so we get 4. So stop when we get a number that is larger than 22. So which is 24. So 4 6 are 24. So then we'll go one step back because we don't take numbers that are larger. We take numbers that are just close to 22 but smaller. So the smaller number than this is 20. So 4 5s are 20. We'll write 4 5s are 20. 2 comes down. Next, we'll drop this 4. Right? So this becomes 24. So 4 6 are 24. Again, we get 0 as the remainder. Okay. Next, we have 12 and then 2448. 2448 divided by 12. Again, if you look at the first digit, it is smaller than 12, so we won't be able to divide this. So we'll have to take 2 digits. Okay. Then we'll multiply 12. So 12 ones are 12, 12 twos are 24. So exactly at 12 twos are, we get 24. So we'll write 24 here. Right. Again, it is very important to remember the tables from 2 to 20 because it helps in multiplication and at the same time it helps in division as well. So 12 twos are 24, 0 is the remainder. Then this 4 comes down. Now we see that 4 is still smaller than 12. So we need this 8 down as well. When I bring this 8 down, I add a 0. Right? And then I write 12 fours are 48. Right? Again, the remainder is 0, quotient is 204. Okay. And one more thing, how do we check that our answers are correct? So we can just multiply this with this. Right? So we can just multiply the divisor with the quotient and add the remainder. So what I am saying, the dividend. So dividend must be equal to divisor into quotient plus the remainder. Okay. So if you have to cross check whether I have done this correctly, so this 2448, which is the dividend, must be equal to 204 multiplied by 12 plus 0, which is the remainder. So this is 204 times 12. So what is the value of 204 times 12? We'll just use the shortcut trick that we discussed. So we'll consider this as a single unit and multiply this with 204. So 12 fours are 48, carry is 4, 12 zeros are 0, here we'll get 4 and 12 twos are 24. So 2448. So here we have verified that our calculation or our division process was correct. Now another type of problem. So 24108. Okay. So again 2 is smaller than 12, so we won't be taking 2. We'll be taking 24. So 12 twos are 24. Right. 0 as the remainder. Then this 1 comes down. Okay. 1 comes down. So we see that 1 is still smaller than 12. So we bring this 0 down as well. We still see, and when I bring this 0 down, just a second, this was 2. So when I bring this 0 down, I have to add a 0. Why? Because I have taken 2 consecutive numbers down. But still it is coming out to be less than 12. So we bring this number down as well. Okay, and then add one more 0. So if we keep increasing, so for the first digit, we don't add any 0. If you have to bring down 2 digits, then we add a 0. If you have to bring down 3 digits, so if I bring down one more digit, added 1 0. One more digit, added one more 0. Right? And then again do this division. 108 divided by 12. So the value of 108 divided by 12 is 9. Because 12 nines are 108. Again the remainder would be 0 here. Okay. So divisor is 12. Dividend is 24,108 and quotient is 2009. Now look at, again we'll not be given direct questions related to division, we'll be given word problems. Okay, before directly going to previous year questions, let us see some of the simple word problems that we make it. Okay, a bakery has to deliver 8,432 breads. Okay, if only 4 delivery trucks have shown up, how many breads will each truck deliver? Now we are having only 4 trucks and then we have to deliver 8,432 breads onto that truck. Right? Assuming that each of the truck will have the same number of breads, how do we find that? So we'll simply divide 8,432 with 4 to get the number of breads delivered by each of the vehicle. Right? So this will be our dividend and this will be our divisor. Right? So this is 8432 divided by 4. Now the first step is divide the first digit of the dividend by the divisor. So we are dividing the first digit because it is larger than 4. So 4 2s are 8, right? So we wrote 4 2s are 8. Then multiply this result by the divisor. Already we did 4 2s are 8. Next step is we subtract, right? So 8 minus 8 we get 0. And the final step is bring down this 4, right? Fifth step is repeat the first step, which is dividing 4 with 4. Right, so first of all, we need to check whether this is greater than or equal to 4. If it is not greater than or equal to 4, we have to drop one more 0 and then drop one more digit and then add a 0 here. Okay, so again, 4 2s are 8, so we wrote 8 and then got 0. Then this 4 came down. Because it was equal to 4, we don't have to drop any further digit. Then we wrote 4 1s are 4, so 4 minus 4 became 0. Then this 3 came down, right? Now when this 3 came down, we saw that 3 is smaller than 4. So we'll need one more digit. And when I have one more digit, so we add a 0. Now we have 32, right? So 32, so 4 8s are 32. So here they have shown the step wherein you add a, so you write 4 zeros are 0 to get 32, right? This one you can ignore. There's no meaning to this. So they have written 32. So 4 8s are 32. And then 32 minus 32 gives us 0. Which means that 8432 divided by 4 gives us 2108. Okay. So each of the trucks will deliver 2108 bricks. Now there are 6744 cookies to be packed in boxes. If each box must have 8 cookies, how many boxes are needed? Again, you have to pack these in boxes. And each box must have 8 cookies. So you have to find, so they are having equal number of cookies, remember. So you have to find how many boxes are needed. So you just divide 6744 by 8 to get the number of boxes. Right, so let us do this question. So we have 6744. So we'll write 8 here, we have to divide. So first digit, we know that 6 is smaller than 8, so we'll take 2 digits. Right, and then we'll divide 67 by 8. So 67 divided by 8, the first step. Right, we see that 8 8s are 64. Right, 8 8s are 64, which is smaller than 67. And 8 9s are 72, which is larger than 67. So we'll be using 64. Right, then we subtract. So 3 comes down. Now this 4 will bring down. Again do the division. So 34 divided by 8. So 8 4s are 32. So we'll write 4 here and then 32 here. Remainder will be 2. Then this 4 comes down. Right, and then no need to add 0 because we are dropping only one digits at a time. So 8 3s are 24. Okay, so 843 will be the answer. The bakery needs to equally distribute 7,847 cupcakes to 7 stores. How many cupcakes will each store receive? Right, again you have to equally distribute this much cupcakes to 7 stores. Again you'll do this division. So 7,847, this is the dividend. 7 is the divisor. So since 7 is equal to 7, we can use just the first digit. So 7 ones are 7. Right, remainder is 0. Then 8 comes down. Again 8 is greater than 7, so we'll use 7 ones are 7. Right, remainder is 1. Then this 4 comes down. then we'll have 14, right? Which is larger than 7. So 7 twos are 14. This becomes 0. Now this 7 comes down. And we know 7 ones are 7. So the remainder again we got as 0. So each store will receive 1121 cupcakes. Okay.